This is the greatest parable. Would you like to hear more about it? Let's open the box. Yes, by now we know there is no underlay inside the box. So let's use the underlay from this parable. Look, here is the Annunciation. And here is the Transfiguration. And here is the Resurrection. These moments of God's presence are like a beginning, a middle, and an end. But really, the story never ends. In many ways, it's still going on today. Here is the time when there was rejection at home, a kind of blindness. And this is Jesus calling his disciples. And here is Jesus teaching and blessing. And here is the feeding of the 5,000. And this is when Jesus was teaching about the law and the Sabbath rest. All of this happened near Jesus' home to the north, where Nazareth and the Sea of Galilee still is today. And as Jesus' time in Galilee was drawing to a close, he took 3 of his disciples up on a mountain, and there they saw Moses and Elijah standing with Jesus. A great cloud overshadowed them, and when the cloud was gone, only Jesus was there. Jesus led the 3 back down the mountain, and they turned toward Jerusalem for the last time. And this is about what happened next. They must have headed south along the Pilgrim's Path, following along the Jordan River. They turned west and entered into the city of Jericho. And as they came into Jericho, there was a blind man sitting by the side of the road. He was calling out, and he said, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." His name was Bartimaeus. The people tried to quiet him, but Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." The disciples did as Jesus asked. And when Bartimaeus heard Jesus' voice, he sprang up and headed toward him. Jesus said, "What is it that you want?" Bartimaeus said, "I want to see." Jesus said, "Go your way. Your faith has made you well." But Bartimaeus did not go his own way. Instead, he followed Jesus and the others to Jerusalem because Now he could truly see. Many people followed Jesus, and sometimes mothers and fathers would bring their children to Jesus so that he could bless them. Do you see Jesus watching the mother coming down the road with her children? Really, the disciples are looking somewhere else. And one time, when the parents brought their children to Jesus, the disciples tried to push them away. Maybe they did not want the children to bother Jesus. But some say Jesus became indignant or angry. This was not right. He said, "Let the children come to me, for such to them belongs the kingdom of heaven." And Jesus laid his hands on the children and blessed them. Another time he said, "When you welcome children, you also welcome me and the one who sent me." And he meant by welcoming children was a way to know God. Many people followed and continued to follow Jesus. They loved him, but he was also followed by some Pharisees and Sadducees who did not. They wanted to make sure that Jesus was following the ways of the Torah and the law of Moses. They would ask him many questions to make sure that Jesus was keeping the law. One time, a lawyer asked him what the most important commandment was. Well, this was sort of a trick because all of the commandments are important. But Jesus said the way to think of the law of Moses is like this: you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul. This is the first commandment. And the second is also about love. You should love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said that these two commandments not only contained everything in the law, but also in the prophets. A scribe said that Jesus had truly answered, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees went away impressed. Jesus and the 12 also met a man named Zacchaeus while they were in Jericho. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, and he was very rich. He took money from his neighbors, and the people hated Zacchaeus, as they did most tax collectors and anyone else who worked for the Romans. Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was coming, but he was very short. So he climbed a sycamore tree so that he could see Jesus walking by. There was something that drew him to Jesus. And as Jesus was walking down the road, he stopped and saw Zacchaeus up in the tree. He said, "Come down quickly. I will stay with you today." Zacchaeus did not know why Jesus wanted him to come down, but he led the way to his house. The people watching on were confused and upset. Why was Jesus spending time with Zacchaeus? He was a sinner. Zacchaeus did not know why Jesus was spending time with him either. All he knew was that something inside of him had changed. They sat around the table and they shared an evening meal. Zacchaeus gave half of his goods back to the poor, and for every piece of money he took from his neighbors, he gave back 4. After they were satisfied and shared the evening meal together, Jesus said, "Today, salvation has come to this home." This was like a holy communion. As Jesus' time was drawing to an end, he and the 12 were at the home of Simon the leper. As they were sitting there, an unknown woman, no one knew who she was, came up to Jesus. She was carrying an alabaster jar full of expensive perfume. She poured it over Jesus' head. And the disciples were angry. Why was she wasting this perfume? This was like the time when Mary, Martha's sister, poured ointment on Jesus' feet and then dried his feet with her hair. The disciples said, "You could have taken this expensive perfume and sold it and used the money to give to the poor." Jesus said, "Why do you trouble this woman? She has done something good. This is like a blessing. When my story is told, her story will also be told. She has done what she could and anointed me for burial." Everyone fell silent. And when they finished their meal, Jesus must have wiped the oil running down his face, and the unknown woman went away. Now I wonder what we could put here. Watch how I put the story away.